Two Nations Under Ted, a Ted Lasso podcast, is a Boink Studios production. And now, on with the show. We're back, kids. Episode 3, Season 2 of Ted Lasso. This is your favorite Ted Lasso review show. Don't lie. And don't be cheating on us and listening to others out there because they're all terrible. I'm just kidding. They may be grand. I don't know. I'm not listening to them, though. I only listens to this one.
But do they have us?
They do not have us.
Exactly.
I don't think. I mean, I'll have to look. But I don't think they have us. And by us, Jay means himself. Jay means me, Tom, and Jay means Joe as well. Yes, guys, Season 2, Episode 3. I'll get it. Don't even want to make fun of me. It's been a long week. I always ask the same question going into these episodes, I feel. What's everyone feeling? How's everyone doing with the show? Is there anything that happens that you missed, that you weren't thinking about? That kind of thing. So, Jay, let me start with you this time. Anything that came out of Episode 3 that you had forgotten about, that you're pleasantly reminded of when you saw it again? Anything like that?
There was a lot I'd forgotten about this episode, mainly because I thought that it was a lot of kind of, like, looking back before I went into it, it was I only really remembered that last scene. I didn't remember a great deal of anything else that came before it. So it was great rewatching it because I forgot just how good this episode was. Like, it's just fantastic. Like, so much happens. There's so many, like, brilliant throwaway little jokes. And a lot of really, like, clever sort of payoffs to things that were, like, sort of built up in the last episode.
And I think it's the only time we ever get to see Led Tasso as well.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait. I had completely
I forgot all about it.
Yes.
And then when he went, you got to go meet that guy. And he was like, who? And he was like, no. I was like, oh, yes, it's this bit. I forgot.
I was afraid to say out loud I'd forgot. I'm afraid you guys were going to make fun of me, but I totally forgot about him.
I thought it was a different episode.
I just forgot all about it. It's just that insane rant he does. It's brilliant.
So good. He's so spastic in his movements. Like, we'll get there when Isaac says something. What'd you say? And he, like, rushes all the way up to him, and Isaac's like, whoa. It's comedy genius. I love it so much.
Yeah.
Love
it's something Jason Sudeikis is really good at as well.
Oh, my God. He's a master. I don't know if he'll ever get enough flowers. Whatever he's gotten, he hasn't gotten enough for sure. Well, kids, if you've gone on this journey with us, then you know that you've been here for the first 10 episodes of Season 1. We are in the throes. Actually, not in the throes. We're on the very cusp. We're in the beginning. I don't know. I'm trying to make it literary. We're in the beginning stages of Season 2 here. Only 3 episodes in. We hope you enjoyed the first 2 episodes. Thank you, as always, for sharing the show on your socials and everywhere that you enjoy your podcast. Thanks for following. It means loads to us. If you guys are ready, I'm ready to get cranking on Episode 3 of Season 2 here.
Oh, yes.
All right.
Made me cry.
I can't wait. Yeah, same. Oh,
Every episode.
There was a moment today when my wife walked in the room and she caught this scene as it was happening, and I'm getting teary-eyed. And I said, look how powerful. And she goes, every episode's like this. I was like, yes.
Yeah. To be fair, it is.
To be fair, it is. Oh my God.
And I know it's not real, but it's one of the few shows that can make me go from laughing out loud to weeping openly in 3 minutes.
Hey man,
That's how good it is.
It's so good. You're talking to the guy that cried when Optimus Prime died in the Transformers movie. I mean, that moment still gets me. So I'm a sucker for emotional moments. I don't care if it's not real. It doesn't make a difference to me.
Yeah, but
it kind of is Hot Rod's fault, isn't it?
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, it really is Hot Rod's fault.
That's for another day.
Here we go, kids. Season 2, Episode 3 of Ted Lasso. What you came here for, after all. The title of this episode is Do the Right-est Thing. Original air date August 6, 2021. This episode is directed by Ezra Edelman. Story by Ashley Nicole Black. And as we said, there are 12 episodes in Season 2. When last we left the Ted Lasso gang, Sharon's role with the team continued past its initial date thanks to Higgens, and Ted reluctantly allowed it despite his apprehension of her needing any kind of help himself. After finally convincing Roy to give the new football pundit job a try, Keeley also gave advice to Jamie, who was trying to find a way back with AFC Richmond, and despite Sam's objection, Ted did indeed allow Jamie to return. We begin with Ted, who meets Rebecca's niece, Nora, played by Kiki May. He asks if she's new here, and she says, to planet Earth, no, I'm 13, but I'm also fairly certain this is also my third life reincarnated. Ted says, well, color me impressed. My third trip around the globe, I was a horsefly. She says, I've never seen a horsefly, but I've seen a horse pee once, and it was a lot. Ted responds with, yeah, and noisy too.
It's just like someone's bought into Ted's banter, and he doesn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
He's kind of like, huh? What?
Yeah.
No, this is strange.
We've heard a lot about Nora. We heard about Nora in season 1, and we never met her, right?
No.
How do we feel about this little actress? How do we feel like she did in this episode?
I think compared to Henry, she's like getting an Oscar. I genuinely thought she was really good. I think
Stop trying to curry favor with me. No, like at the start of it, I was like, oh, we're going to get another precocious child actor. But nah, she's great. She's brilliant in this as what, a 13, 14-year-old girl, like who has Sassy as a mum. So,
and she does a really good job of like showing that they are mother and daughter.
Oh, the apple does not fall far from the tree. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's obvious that, and you're right. It's obvious that Sassy's. I mean, with a mom who's named Sassy, you don't stand much of a chance. You're probably gonna have attitude. I'm just saying, but in a good way. In a good way.
This is the first time that Rebecca has seen her in. Is it 6 years?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
She says so. Like she will have seen her as a toddler. I don't know. I don't know the ages of children, and now she's like almost a real person.
She's on her way. Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't mean a real person, but like an adult.
No, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And
no, for sure.
She spits some wisdom in this.
Yeah.
She does. She's very good. Speaking of Sassy, we get to see Sassy again, played by Ellie Taylor. She's talking to Rebecca. He gives biscuits to Rebecca, and he says, hey, who's the new receptionist? And Sassy says, that's Nora, my daughter. And Ted goes, okay, wait, is she mine? That's like, Ted, we had sex like 6 months ago. He's like, oh yeah, sorry, bad math.
But then she also goes, and if I remember correctly, you didn't finish. And he went, hey, there's no reason to go into that. I'm like,
if memory serves, you finished on mine. And Ted goes, oh, blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
A dirty dog, Ted.
I know. Dirty dog.
Yeah,
sure.
Again, another one of those great Ted moments where he just misses the point entirely, and he's like, "Is it mine?" And it's like, "No, Ted, come on, you've got a child, you know how this works." But I don't know if it's done to to diffuse a situation, or he's just a bit thick at times.
I think as well, he's probably in the mindset because obviously he's just had Nora who's like fully embraced all the Tedisms, and he's gone back to an adult conversation, and he's still like he's in full Ted mode. It's like he's just being Ted.
It's like a runaway bull. When he gets in Ted mode, there's not much you can do to stop him.
Yeah, exactly.
Once he's in the zone. Yeah, he cuts her off and says, no need to get into the science of all of it in front of the boss here, which is good. Sassy's there because she's speaking at a conference. So Nora's spending the day with Rebecca, who's going to make good on every wish from the past 7 years. Sassy tells her to make sure one of those wishes was a tampon because Nora is one errant cobblestone away from her first period. I don't know why that cracked me up so much.
It's not that. It's when it like cuts to Ted and he's just like, I'm way out of my depth here. I'm just gonna just vamp in the corner like.
Yeah, you can tell he's uncomfortable. And he says, good to see you, Sass. Always a straight shooter. Great. He's going to let them get back to it. And then he says TTFN, which we assume is ta-ta for now, then stops and says, what do you say we do what the man says and make today our masterpiece? If you guys don't know where that reference comes from, Coach John Wooden, who was one of Ted's idols, basketball coach, won 10 college athletic association national championships in a 12-year period as head coach for the UCLA Bruins, including a record 7 in a row. One of his most known quotes is, make each day your masterpiece, which is actually the third item in the list of 7 things to do given to the coach by his father. This list later became known as Coach Wooden's 7-point creed.
Oh, so, really? I wondered what that was.
Yeah, whenever they do deep cuts, like I'm always curious to go. Some of them I can get, some of them you can kind of dig, but others are like way over your head. But again, Jay, we talked about this, pretty sure, quite a bit in episode or season 1 about the triangle and about outside college or outside sports references. This is another one getting into this team here. So that's good.
Yeah, it shows like the situation Ted's been put in. He's trying to transfer as much outside knowledge as he can into that role.
Yeah, makes sense. Rebecca says, did he talk like that when? Sassy says the whole time. And so eager to please. It was fabulous. Rebecca immediately spits out her biscuit. It's really good.
Ted's a compassionate lover.
I know, right? We're in the press room and Ted is fielding questions from the room. Ted starts with Lloyd, played by Lloyd Griffith. And he says, all right, Lloyd, why don't you go all Pat Benatar on me, yeah? And Lloyd goes, and hit you with my best shot? Fire away. So Lloyd's very happy that he got that. He's like, yes. Yeah. They all start to understand how Ted does his thing here, man.
Again, it's that thing of he remembers their names. He sort of gets to know their personalities a little bit. And it's just part of how Ted operates, is treating people as people.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody has a place. Everybody has a role. And why make their lives harder? Make them feel like they're human.
They'll be nicer to you.
Yes, you'll get more from them. You know, what is it?
More flies with honey than with vinegar.
Thank you. God, it was leaving me. I couldn't get it. Lloyd says, you think this will end your team's embarrassing streak of draws? Ted says, oh, Lloyd, I've never been embarrassed by having streaks in my drawers. It's all part of growing up. So, yeah.
In these press conferences, he never gives answers to anything.
Never.
He just does a little bit and then on to the next one.
He's very Jesus in that regard. Like, a lot of Jesus' dialogue in the Bible, when he's asked a question, he'll answer it with a question.
It's a parable or yeah. It's like the thing with the dog. It's the dog thing all over again. He doesn't actually answer anything about the dog. He just tells a story about a dog. And that's enough, I guess.
True. We get to see Trent Krim here, played by the great James Lance from The Independent. Let's get it straight. Ted throws it to him and he says, make like Dunstan Union and bring it on. This is referencing the 2000 film Bring It On. I know you guys are a fan of Bring It On. Don't lie, Joe.
Spirit
you
Fingers.
Love it.
Oh, yeah. I love Bring It On.
I love it. Brilliant film.
Oh, my God.
Those are not Spirit Fingers. These are Spirit Fingers. Yeah.
I was messing with you, but I see that I was correct in my joke. Or in my assumption. I don't know. That's funny. Trent says Ted's well known for creating a great vibe in the locker room, but does Jamie's return impact that vibe? Ted says, I don't think so. I believe that Jamie's on a path to becoming a better man, and I'm just here to help along the way, along that journey. He says, think of me and as his own personal Mr. Miyagi, except without all the extra yard work. It's good. Yeah.
He's right.
He is right. We get the full impact here, Joe, of the return of Jamie Tartt. Going into this episode, I didn't really ask you guys what your feelings were going in, but can you remember back to watching this? What would you expect from Jamie in this? Did you think the guys were going to be fully against him, or was he going to be the same prick he was before, or what?
He still is the same prick. He's been slightly humbled by being booted from Man City, not winning Lust for Glory or whatever it was called, Lust Island. So he knows his stock has fallen, but also it's Jamie doesn't have the self-awareness to realize that. He's so wrapped up in his own belief that Jamie Tartt is the best thing that it doesn't matter to him. But knowing that Sam didn't want him back and Sam was furious about Ted taking him back, you can see the rest of the locker room are now following sort of Sam and the other main characters that are in the team, that he's not going to be accepted back. And we see that in a couple of scenes going forward. He hasn't changed. During the burning ceremony, Ted had him. He had him there, and it was accepted. And because of his going away, and he blamed Ted for that, but we now know that's not true, and I think he knows that's not true now as well. But he can't stop himself. He is. I think the first time we see Jamie, and how you doing, Jamie? I'm fucking great. He has no self-awareness. That's Jamie Tartt's main sort of character flaw, is that he can't see the wood for the trees.
Well said. Plus, we had that moment of reflection from him, Jay, in the last episode where he's going out and signing autographs, and you're like, is there some depth to this character?
I think he goes on a really good journey in this episode, though. Because obviously he starts like kind of segregated from the rest of the team. And it's by design, obviously, because none of them want anything to do with him because they think he's going to disrupt everything. And obviously then what was interesting was he was in that corner where someone else is in the next season.
Yes.
Which intrigued me.
It's the isolation corner, yeah.
Yeah, but it's a really great scene, like that first bit, because obviously, like, Sam's... Keely comes in and like walks past Jamie, doesn't even notice he's there, and like she shows Sam the picture of him from like the Dubai air shoot, and all the team are kind of like just giving little like jabs at him, just joking around.
Friendly banter, isn't it? It's like, oh, is this an effort for ugly people?
And I think Jamie does it not trying to be malicious. I think he's doing it trying to fit in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally.
Because he's as soon as they all look at him and like as if say, "What the fuck are you doing, dickhead?" You can tell he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I was just trying to.
I've overstepped here."
Yeah. Because like he like I think it's I can't remember the German one anyway.
The Dutch. Yeah, when Jan says what he says to him.
He says, "Why did you fly in your football kit?"
Yeah.
And then Jamie just like says, "Oh yeah, so it's the only way they'll know he's a footballer." And again, it's no worse than anything anyone else is saying.
Oh no! If it come from Bumbercatch or anyone else, it would have got
Bumbercatch. That's who it was.
Bumbercatch.
Couldn't remember his name.
As soon as he says it, it stops dead the room.
Yeah,
and it's like cowboy film when the piano stops playing and everyone just sort of turns and looks at him, and he's like, "Oh, hang on."
You can tell he doesn't mean it in a malicious way. He's just trying to like
ingratiate himself. Yeah, exactly.
It's like a bunch of kids. It's like he's a neglected kid. He's just trying to belong. I do like when Keely first comes in and she's got the pics and Sam says, "Oh God, I'm very nervous, but I'm also very excited." That's similar to whenever Colin drives me somewhere in his Lamborghini and Colin goes, "It's true. It's way too much car for me." Like just straight face.
But instead of getting another car, like you have to have a Lamborghini because you're a footballer. Like, didn't he throw his keys into the fire for his Lamborghini as well?
He did.
Man's a menace.
At least he got a spare set made, or he bought a new Lamborghini. It's football money.
Yeah. Well, in the midst of this, Keely tells the guys about Banter, which is the new dating app that she's a part of. Yeah.
Banter is, but she says like it's it'll help out tremendously. This is like her pet project that she's working on, and she's like, if you can go on it, it would help boost the thing a bit. And they all do it because they all love Keely. Like, yeah, and it's no pictures, so they can literally put whatever they want on it. No one's going to know who they are.
Yeah,
but they all do it just to help her out because she's helped them. Like Sam's got this thing. I'm fairly sure. Like, Thingy probably got his sweets that he wanted.
Yeah.
Did you catch the seed planted in the end of this scene or near the end of this scene by Colin when they're talking about the app?
Yeah. It's how's that spelled? BANTR. And Colin goes like Grinder, and then they all sort of give him a look, and then they just brush it off because it is. Yeah. That's how Tumblr, Tinder, they're all spelled. It's just odd that he chose Grinder.
Yeah. Which an LGBTQ dating app, it's the first sign maybe of something. And again, guys, we said for the whole first season and now going into season 2 and episode 3 here that they this show loves to plant seeds, and the tree won't grow today. It'll grow 4 episodes from now when you least expect it.
I feel like Collins as well. Like there's a few like bits like in coming episodes, like in hindsight, looking back, it's like, oh yeah, that makes a bit more sense.
There is a lot of it, especially in season 3. There is a lot of stuff that.
Well, it's quite early on in season 3, isn't it? If I recall.
No, I mean of him just saying stuff that's kind of obtusely weird, and then he tries to like reverse back off it, and yeah, it's Colin gets a very good. Again, like all of the main team cast get their own little arcs and stuff, but Collins is one of the more interesting ones because I can't say anything without so in spoilers, so I'm not going.
And his takes the longest, really, doesn't it? I mean, his takes, he's one of the longest to get there, too.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, right up until, like, well,
the end of season 3.
Something happens in the very last episode, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Which they build up starting here. So that's pretty cool.
Well, Ted comes in and he goes to Coach and he says, look, he says, we've got a big game this weekend. What are we looking at, Coach? Coach Beard says, very physical. He says, okay, all right. Anything else? He said, borderline violent.
Borderline violence.
Ted answers with, still can't believe y'all don't have pads in this sport. Jay, as our football expert, and cue the graphic.
Hey.
The graphic will be added in post. Cue the graphic that Jay, was there, to your knowledge, ever a moment when anybody in that sport in your fair country said, hey, this could get a little violent. Should we wear something that you know of? Any need to pad up or anything?
Only like they wear shin pads because you're gonna get kicked in the shin a lot, and obviously balls hitting your legs hurt like fuck. A lot of players will wear like chest protector things now as well. And it's just basically because if ball hitting them as hard as it is repeatedly in your chest, it's probably not very good for your ribs and heart. So, and then obviously a cup, they're like the main things you pad. Other than that, it's usually just taping. Like some players take the wrists, some players take their ankles.
Was there not a thing back in the old days when like they were playing with big heavy leather footballs where they would wear like leather helmets?
Yeah, so that's another thing as well. Like there's a few footballers who've like had like repeated concussions and they'll start wearing like padded helmets. Like it's almost like a wrestling like headgear. And it's just essentially it's usually goalkeepers because they're most prone to getting KO'd because if they're throwing themselves at a player's foot, they're very likely to get kicked in the face. Most notable person to wear that was Petr Cech, who played for Chelsea and Arsenal. He got at a very, very young age, he got knocked out, and it was like career threatening. And then he came back like I think it was like 6 months to a year later. That's how bad it was. And he had like headgear on, and he wore it for the rest of his career.
Wow.
So yeah, there is that, but the main thing, as I say, is shins and chest. Other than that, they're kind of just like try not and because it's not it. The thing is, it's not like a super physical game.
It's not a contact sport.
It's not a contact sport really. It's just obviously there's a lot of like stuff where like if you're throwing yourself in for a tackle, just be prepared that you might get like flung in the air, or if you're going for a head the ball, be prepared that people's arms flail about, people like jumping for the ball at the same time as you could bang heads with you. There's a lot of precautions, but at the same time, there's never really other than what's been taken, there's never been any further discussion of it because there's never really needed to be.
Well, it occurred to me when this scene happened that I'd never asked the question. I never looked it up, so that's good to know. I'll compare, because when I watch a game, I'm from American standpoint, because I've never really watched dedicated at all. So every time I watch a game, I, in my head, see an NBA game. That's what I see. I see guy has the ball, two defenders come up to double team, that leaves a man open. He kicks the ball out to someone. To me, that's NBA play. So if I'm comparing the two sports, NBA, elbow pads, knee pads, yeah, but no headgear, of course. And the surface they play on is a lot less give than the pitch. So you could argue it's more dangerous. You know, we've seen guys flat out break bones on the NBA just by hitting the floor hard enough. So, yeah, anything could happen.
I think they need to make you watch some rugby at some point.
They do. They're showing that right now, concurrent with the Premier League and Champions League, right? And like, I thought about flipping over. I'm like, is it worth watching?
If it's rugby league, yeah, I'm not a big fan of union, but league is faster and I would say easier to get your head around in terms of rules and that. But it's essentially American football ish, but without the pads.
There is that weird passing backward rule.
Yeah, you can only pass backwards. So like,
Okay.
yeah, but no, you sort of run lines forward and you pass
Yeah.
it down the line until you get a break or until some giant hulking Welshman pins you to the ground.
Yeah.
But yeah, rugby. I would recommend just watching.
Worth watching a game.
Worth watching a good rugby match just because you'll go Jesus for a lot of it.
Give it a shot. So Jamie comes in, or Jamie's there, excuse me, and he goes up to Ted and asks to speak. And we really needed this as viewers. Jamie needed this as a character. The team needed this as well. He says, I know I wasn't the greatest teammate. I did some shitty things. I said some shitty things, but I want each and every one of you to know I'm truly sorry and I'm ready to do whatever it takes to make it up to you. Colin says, you called me a jaundiced worm. Jamie says, right, yeah, and I'm sorry about that, Colin. He goes, in a profile from my hometown paper.
It's just proper shithouse stuff, though. It is Jamie because, like, he's king of the world. Everyone else is beneath him, so it doesn't matter whose bridges he burns along the way. But yeah, it was the addition of the line in my hometown paper. I was like, oh. And he's Welsh, so it'll be some little tiny village or something, won't it?
Yeah.
Like a readership of 8 people, and 2 of them are his nan.
Bumbercatch, who we alluded to earlier, played by Mohammed Hashim, which I don't know if we've ever mentioned his name before, speaks up and says, you hit on my mom in front of my dad. Jamie apologizes and says, I'm sorry, tell your dad I'm sorry, and please give Janet me best.
His face when he says that as well is like, Bumbercatch looks like he wants to kill him.
Again, it's that thing of Jamie thinks he's done nothing wrong. He's like, I'm apologizing. Well, I'm doing it in such an awful human way.
Again, he feels sincere in the apology.
But he's so dumb.
But the delivery of it is just so dense.
Yeah.
Like, it does genuinely come across as sincere, I thought. But obviously,
he does. Like... But it's just like he never bothered to learn his dad's name, but he's like, and tell Janet, I still think of her. It's just such a Jamie thing.
Because it's Jamie, he comes across as a prick as well, which is just brilliant.
Richard is back, played by Stephen Manis. He yells something in French, and Zorro translates that to, you cut a fart and threw it in his face. And they all look at him. He goes,
better in the French.
Better in French. And they all do that Ted Lasso thing where they all go, oh, yeah. And everyone agrees at once. God, I love that so much. Jamie says, anyone else? And Isaac growls just as well as Roy, says, you got us relegated. Then they all jump up and start yelling at him. Jan Moss says, I don't know you, but I don't like you. That's so good. So good.
It's weird, that whole you got us relegated thing, because I suppose he did, but it was like he wasn't playing for the club, so that shouldn't really be something he'd harbour a grudge over.
And to be fair as well, but he left.
But it was out of his hands that he left.
I know, but also, if you look at it, he passed the ball, so he did what Ted had asked him to do. So, but also they're going to be angry because they're now in the championship when. Yeah. I kind of want to go back and listen to that and see if I can isolate other sound bites of people yelling stuff just to see if anyone just started yelling weird stuff about like ice cream or anything, just random stuff.
I know Colin like repeatedly keeps yelling a jaundiced worm.
Yeah.
Had me like doubled over.
But it would appear that he bullied everyone in that locker room.
But the most telling part of the scene, which we haven't touched on yet, Sam doesn't say a word. He's just looking at Ted with this smug look on his face.
Well done.
And then he's the last one to walk out when Ted's like, all right, everyone, just get out there. And like Sam just looks at Ted as if to say, I told you. I'm not going to say anything, but I told you.
And he did. I'm just saying. The next scene, we see Rebecca and Nora in a restaurant, and she's trying to make up for the time she wasn't around. She looks around, gentlemen, and quickly realizes these are all moms and little girls.
It's afternoon tea is a thing for old people and mums and daughters. It's not a thing that a 13-year-old girl would want to be doing, especially if your godmother is in charge of a football team.
And also Nora seems like a bit more of like a tomboy, like. The fact that she's like so interested in the football team and like football in general would indicate that she's not asked about doing this. She wants to like do something that's closer to the club because that's something that genuinely interests her.
But I can understand Rebecca's motives because she only knew her when she was sitting, and she literally says, like, I brought you here last time and we played see how many sandwiches we could fit in our mouth, which is one of the games I play. And it is just like she's trying, but she doesn't know what to do. Yeah. She still thinks that she's a 6-year-old girl.
Yeah, I do love as well how kind of like disarming it is when Rebecca goes, let's leave, I'll get the bill sort of thing. And Nora goes, you will come back, won't you? And then Rebecca's like, what do you mean? It's like, it's not going to be 6 years till I see you again. And it really like throws Rebecca. But then I think she realizes, oh yeah, this is Sassy's daughter. That's why she's like this.
Also, yeah, she like it's that thing. She likes Rebecca, and she feels like spurned by her. It is a good line, though.
Oh, it is. If anybody's ever had a relationship with the opposite sex, and that person sort of demands all your time, and then months have gone by, you realize you haven't talked to your buddy, or I've been there. You're right. That woman ends up being maybe not so good for you because, they control your whole effing life. And you're like, wait a minute, I haven't spoke to friends in a year. What's going on? So, yeah, she just had excess years of that. Yeah. Well, she had all those years with Rupert. So there you go. Hey, kids, Tom Clark here, and did you know the very podcast you're listening to right now is available on BoinkStudios.com. BOINK, Boink Studios is the home of Tom Clark's Main Event, Tom Clark's 6M podcast, and Two Nations Under Ted, a Ted Lasso podcast. Visit the site today for links to every podcast platform, social media, special announcements, and a lot more. Check out the site and bookmark today, BoinkStudios.com. We're back on the pitch. The guys are training. Dr. Sharon is looking on from the stands as Ted, Beard, and Nate are on the sidelines. Ted yells out that they've had enough of the moose-bouche. This is his second reference to that, by the way. It's time to move on to the main course. He gets stuck on a word and uses it. Ted calls Jamie over and says, and Jamie is working out the whole way to him. He's doing those moves. And Ted's like, hey, I like to see that. That's great. Like he's complimenting him on working out the whole time he's coming over. He's like, wish I could move like that. And Beard says, to be so young. Ted tells him they're starting him out on the reserve squad. Let the fellas see him earn his way back to the starting lineup. Jamie agrees with this. He says there's nothing more likable than watching somebody humbly overcome adversity with their effortless God-given talent. Humbly with their effortless God-given.
He throws that humble in there, not knowing what it means. It's Pavlovian all over again, isn't it?
Pavlovian. Ted says, don't try to do too much out there. Jimmy says, I know what you mean, coach. And you're like, no, he doesn't. Ted asks Beard, do you think he heard me? He says, I do. Do you think he's going to listen? I do not.
Do not.
We get that I do not reference a lot in the show, and it's awesome.
Yeah. And then Nate's like stood next to the two of them, fucking giddy.
Yeah.
Saying, they're going to kill him.
They're going to kill him.
Yeah. They both look at him and he's like, he was really horrible to me. Yeah. You do kind of like, not forget that, but you do like realize like just how, as much as like Ted's kind of like reach of good kind of spread across the club, like Jamie's like toxic behavior did as well.
And, totally.
He can't just come into the club and try and win everyone over.
Well, he tries later on
by one action, and it really. No. But that's what I mean. Like throughout the episode,
after the previous two episodes where we see like this darker side of Nate, this is just a genuine Nate sort of thing of, well, he was horrible to me, and he was like we saw him all through the first season bully him and get Colin to like belittle him. Like. I can see him wanting to get his pound of flesh, his comeuppance on it. But it's just like, yeah. Well, it's one of the few things in this season when Nate isn't a total gobshite.
Talk about getting a pound of flesh. Sam gets at least an ounce or two when he slides in. That slide, holy God, man. He wasn't messing around, dude.
Yeah. Best part of it was he won the ball, so it wasn't a foul.
Yep.
Well done.
Yeah. It would have been a clean tackle if it was in an actual game.
Yep.
That's good. He stands over me and says, while you were all filming your little TV shows, some things have changed around here. Don't bring that weak rubbish my way. And then he rubs Jamie's head like he's a kid.
Is that not a turnaround from Jamie doing that to him?
I was going to say
on?
Jamie
Yeah.
did that to him when he like knocked him over one time.
Yeah.
He did.
So it's again, it's all there for a reason, but it is just like, and Jamie's genuinely flabbergasted by this.
Yeah, but then like so Jamie goes, "What the fuck's going on?" And Colin runs up and goes, "Who's it showing the swim now?" Really
he flips him off.
But what's interesting is that the fact that they made Jamie feel the way that he made them feel when he was at the club previously.
Yeah,
I think that's really like what humbles him and makes him realize, right, I've got to figure this out. I need to like try and win the team over and show them I actually want to be part of the team and not just be like me.
But by the same token as well, it's not 11 people pulling in different directions. Ted's focused them into an actual team now.
Yeah.
And Jamie's not used to that because he was like, well, I was the star of it and everyone passed to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no, we can pass to whoever now because everyone is doing their own thing, but it all works together as one unit. And he's not been there for that. And the Sam thing, especially because Sam was in defense and he's now, is he on the wing or he's in, I can't remember.
He's on the wing, yeah.
Yeah, so like, he's in a more goal-scoring position than he was when Jamie was there. So, yeah, it all makes sense, but it is just Jamie's look of absolute confusion as he gets mullered into the ground.
Yeah, he said, fuck just happened. This is great. Rebecca and Nora were back with these two. They're walking, and Rebecca's asking what she wants to do. She says, we could go see a show tonight. What about the Mousetrap? You know the Agatha Christie play where someone dies every performance? Usually in the audience, seeing as only old people go and see it, which is good. They stop at the British Girl Shop. This is a thing, guys, the British Girl Shop?
I don't think it is. I've never heard of the British Doll Shop or whatever it was.
There's a lot of like old, like fashion doll shops though, aren't there?
I assumed it was a pun on like the American Girls dolls.
Possibly.
It was a play on that. But I also love the fact that they just think that London is full of whimsical streets that are like cobbled and these old like Georgian and Elizabethan buildings, and it's like it is not. It's all chrome and glass and awful.
You're making that up.
There's parts of London like that, but then
where Ted stays is like that, and
but that's like a suburb of London. That's like right outside
tiny area, yeah. I told you about this. I went to that weird service station that had like bring your own bottles and you can get your own refined olive oil. We'll fill them up here, and it was like in a spa. And there was a little man in a booth who would cook you like a stone-fired sourdough pizza in a spa in London. And I was like, this is bewildering to me. It was like its own little weird conurbation of just posh people.
Plus, I was wondering, would England have a store called the British Girl Shop? In England, what? That's what threw me too.
It might be one of those things, kind of like I'm thinking it's like kind of like porcelain dolls. That's a very sort of
British
like
thing,
Victorian thing, isn't it?
My mum used to make them.
Yeah, it might be like an institution of that. I guess like it could be a real thing. I don't know.
Probably I honestly genuinely think it's not a real thing. I just think it's because the fact is that as well that they're like. All of the dolls have tragic backstories.
Yeah. To be fair, it could be inspired more than actually be one, I guess, couldn't it?
I think it's more of like based on like the American Dolls thing and like Build-A-Bear and stuff like that, as opposed to an actual thing. But it looks believable because it's an oldie, tiny, lead-fronted shop with these horrific porcelain dolls in the window.
They do reference that. It said, why do all dolls have to be tragically orphaned? Edith's parents died in the war. Emma's had scurvy. Rebecca says, yes, the Americans really do the historical doll concept better, don't they? Must be their innate sense of triumph, however misguided. Nora says, yeah, but no one does the orphans better than us Brits. And then on cue, Roy walks out of the store with Phoebe and her new doll, which is great.
Roy just looking like, like fed up.
Roy has no compunction about ego or, being a man's man when it comes to Phoebe. that stuff's out the window because like he loves that kid.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like he loves it, but also it's like obligation, isn't it? Like he knows to be a good uncle, he's got to spend like time with her, and he's got to indulge her in these things that he absolutely hates doing. But he's like, but it'll make my niece happy, so I'm going to do it.
But then also as well, though, he knows like how to be a parent as well. Like later on, he sets down boundaries, and it's so he's not just let's go and do whatever because he's learned.
I think as well, he's just like there's quite a lot of scenes whenever he's in like a scene with a kid, he seems to just be really good with kids.
He's just one of them people, yeah.
We're going to come back to them in a moment, but in the meantime, we get Sam on the exercise bike. He's texting his dad. He sends his dad a link to free tickets from Dubai Air, and his dad asks him if he knew that Dubai Air is owned by Cerithium Oil. His dad then sends him a link to the story of an oil spill in the Niger Delta that Cerithium Oil is refusing to clean up. And what he says, to see you choose to be a shill for a corporation that has ruined the lives of so many breaks my heart. And I'm thinking, how does Sam know about this? Like,
because as we find out, Cerithium Oil are like the parent company for Dubai Air. So unless he's going through like company's warehouse, finding out who owns what, you wouldn't know that an oil company owns an airline. I wouldn't. It's like Unilever own pretty much everything, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
It's just that thing of everything in the world is owned by like 4 or 5 parent companies. So
I thought it was harsh, you know.
When we meet his dad is a no nonsense guy. His dad's
proud of his Nigerian heritage and his son.
Yeah. Is it earlier on as well? Sam talks about his dad pinching his ear and stuff, and like he loves his dad, and like he wants to make his dad proud.
Yeah,
this is that bit where I was like, oh Christ, I can't deal with this. Because Sam's tried to do something to like make his life and his parents' life by association easier, and it's the exact opposite of what it should be. And he didn't know. I genuinely think Sam didn't know.
No,
why would he know? He's a footballer.
Well, I was going to say a lot of the times with like footballers, they'll get asked to kind of like be parts of sponsorship deals because of the club, like the way Sam was, and you guarantee 9 times out of 10 they don't do the research on who they're actually representing and what they're actually they're just doing it because it's a payday and they've got to do it as the club. And I genuinely think Sam's probably just like thought, well, these guys sponsor Richmond. That's all I need to know. And it's only when his dad's pointed out what a horrible kind of company they are and how it's affecting like where he grew up, that it's like it hits close to home and it hits him in a different way. Where it's like I think that this in particular really kind of opens Sam up to kind of what we get in later episodes in the following season, where he's like a lot more sort of vocal about like politics and things like that.
Socially aware.
Yeah. But I'd say it's a harsh truth that he needed to learn the way he learned it.
Speaking of socially aware, we go back to the girls and Roy, and Nora's asking Phoebe how the doll's parents die. Factory fire, eaten by rats? Phoebe says no. Zoe's from the modern line. Her parents were canceled.
That was probably my favorite line in the entire episode.
It's one of those jokes that is not going to age well, but it made me chuckle.
Yeah. I don't know.
So funny.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Roy asks about John, Rebecca's date from episode 1. Remember that peach of an actor and that guy? Well, not the actor. The actor was great, but the character, She says she dumped him, not because of what Roy had said, but because he was right about what he said. She says that she's on Banter. The app has no pics, so Roy asks if she's getting unsolicited descriptions of dicks, which is good. Just imagine some dude
just to point
taking the time.
Well, she says, no, I dumped him. And Roy says, because of what I said. And she goes, no, not because of what you said, but because, And like, Roy knows what he did. Roy sowed the seeds there of Rebecca knowing her own worth. But yes, also of someone getting like a limerick about their penis sort of kind of makes me chuckle.
I think
it's so good.
I think the thing with Roy as well, like especially in this scene, is he's like secretly like the wisest character in the show.
Mm.
Like he imparts so much wisdom, but he does it in a way that he'll say something and then he'll make the person he's saying it to them figure out what they've got to do. He
Like
won't
Mr.
just
Miyagi.
yeah. He won't just outright tell, like he didn't outright tell Rebecca you should break up with this guy because he's a dick. He basically like said, "Oh yeah, if you want to settle, yeah, it's great, but why should you?
Better.
You deserve better." And it was because of that she was like, "He's got a point."
I do deserve better.
Yeah, the advice he gives in this scene as well.
And didn't Ted do that with him? Season 1 with the book, and he wanted him to be the little girl in the book. So like Roy had to figure out for himself, I have to be the one to leave the locker room. Ted's not going to do it.
I think it's that thing of if you tell someone how to do something, they will not do it. But if you let them figure it out on their own, they feel like they've accomplished something and they were more inclined to do it. I'm not being Dr. Sharon with this, but I think that's like a basic tenet of like psychology is that if you tell someone, if someone tells me to do something, I'm not going to do it just on principle. But if it's like, oh, do you know how to work the washing machine? Can you put the washing machine on and something's broke? I'll fucking use the washing machine. I'll show you. Yeah, because I'm an idiot. It's that same thing. Roy does just impart wisdom like a wise old barn owl, like just left, right, and center.
Yeah, it's like the whole give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish, he'll eat for the rest of his life. Like
feed the man to the fish, you not got a problem.
Yeah, take him to chicken.
Feed a man to the fish, that's murder.
Feed a man to the fish. That's an episode of River Monsters.
Yes. Phoebe looks back and says, "Uncle Roy, can we have ice cream for dinner?" And he goes, "No, that's dumb."
I swear Phoebe's obsessed with ice cream as well.
Yeah, she says, "You're right. Thank you for helping me set boundaries." That little voice of hers is precious.
She's great.
Rebecca says,
I'll try and push it. I'll try and push, like, 'cause it's Uncle Roy and he's with his friends. I'll see if he'll let me have ice cream. And he's like, no. Like, Roy does not bend under parental pressure.
Rebecca says, "Wow, she really loves you." Roy says, "I know, it's fucking annoying." Rebecca says it's been great reconnecting with Nora, but she's had loads of activities and Nora didn't care about any of it. And this, I live for this. I had to get here because I love it. Roy says most adults think kids need to be constantly entertained. It's bullshit. I didn't need a fucking parade every day growing up. Did you? Truth is, they just want to feel like they're a part of our lives. Little idiots. Watch this. Boy, Phoebe, do you want to come to my podiatrist appointment later? Phoebe goes, "Yes, please." And she's all like lit up and happy.
So joyful in her face.
Oh.
And then he just looks at her like, told you.
Oh my God, it's so good. They just want you to be there. They just want to be with you. That's really.
They want to feel like they're not an accessory. Like, you know, yeah. It's
well
just
said.
It's just a delightful thing, though, of him just going, the little idiots.
Yeah.
Like he loves her, but he hates her, but he loves her.
I love the way Roy talks about Phoebe. He's just so funny with it.
It's such a dichotomy of emotions for him. It's just like...
It is. It is. I just suddenly had the image of Jay Briscoe dancing in a tutu with his daughter, which makes me cry now.
Oh,
but it's you know, like a manly man, but I'm going to do this with my kid because that's my kid and I love her. Love that.
It's Bray plaiting his daughter's hair, man. It's all these these things.
Yeah.
Like, you can be the manliest man, but it's your kid. Like, if your kid wants you to put on a dress and go to a tea party, I'm going to do that. Like,
hell yeah. Yeah.
That's not really fair with me because I'm not the manliest man in the world, but because Roy is so, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yet he has sat there in a bed reading to his, reading to her. He takes her out all the time, like a lot, actually. What is Roy's sister up to? Like, she's a
surgeon, isn't she?
Is she?
Yeah, he mentions it in the next episode.
Oh, okay. That makes sense then. So she gets yeah. But again, it's like when they're at Keely's house and Keely's made her listen to Zeppelin. Like, kids just want to be involved, want to feel like they're a part of it. Like they're a little human. They are a little human.
They are. Later on, Rebecca's finally making a real effort. She offers to put on a scary movie and make them some popcorn. She then offers to let Nora come with her to work the next day because she's keeping in mind what Roy said. And Nora is like over the moon. She's like, I've always wondered what it'd be like to run a football club. And she says, really? She's like, ever since you started doing it.
See, hero worship.
Ooh,
It's there.
Yeah. Ted comes out of his flat. Are you impressed with that? You should be.
Yep.
Ted comes out of his flat and sees, and I call her Soccer Girl only because that was sort
Shannon,
of
isn't it?
Shannon. Yeah, that was the name kind of given to her. But
Oh, yeah.
yeah, played by Shannon Hayes. There you go. She hands Ted a coffee. Beard asks her to give it to him. He had to run off. Ted asks, is everything okay? And Shannon says, I don't know, but he mumbled the name Jane and sprinted away. And Ted goes, oh, okay, that makes sense. Oh, it's great. Shannon says, when are you guys finally going to win a match? And he goes, geez Louise, Shannon, not even Beard comes at me that strong this early. He said, well, I start off with a little small talk. You know, like I'll say, hey, what's the word, Larry Bird? And then he'll say, don't call me Larry Bird. And when are we going to finally win a fucking match? And Ted says, yeah, like that. Which is good. I like her. I still wish they could have worked her in maybe in a youth league or something. Yeah.
I feel like obviously we're getting way ahead of ourselves. I feel like there's potential should something happen.
Yeah, I agree.
Possibly, but I don't know whether or not like other parts of hers got cut for time or whatever. But because it's odd to have this sort of,
she may not have been available to film the third season. She wasn't in it at all.
Possibly, yeah. She could have moved away. She could have gone to university on a football scholarship. We don't know.
True.
Let's imagine that that's what happened.
We'll go with that. Rebecca and Nora walk into the office. She introduces Nora to Higgens, who says your email was great. It fixed everything. She's like, what are you talking about? He's like, just trying to make you look good.
Just trying to make you look good.
I love the way though Rebecca's like saying the best thing to do is like be one step ahead of everybody. And then when Higgins says that, I was like, what the fuck are you talking about, Higgins?
She immediately fucks it.
And yeah, Nora goes, oh, you really fucked that up, didn't you? And she goes, yeah, I did.
Yeah. It was her chance to flex, man. They walk into her office, which Rebecca refers to as her private sanctum, which I think both you guys used that word earlier in season 1. Yeah, I mean, even the boss sees it, you know. Keely is startled. She yells, shit, and she jumps up and says that she didn't think Rebecca would be coming in today. She says, when I know you're not going to be here, I'll use your office. I like the light in the absence of smells. Just like these little details that the writers put in just crack me up. You know what I mean?
The fact as well, she's just got like open packets of sweets on the desk as well. Like that's Keely's office. It's just bags of crisps and like tank plastics everywhere.
I just love Juno Temple so much.
Oh,
she's freaking
great.
great.
Tremendous in it. And it's the thing, like as soon as she sees Nora as well, like there's an immediate bond between the two of them because they're both kind of like similar. I want to say brassy women, but like they know what they're about, and like she's only 13, and like it's really, and also it's Sassy's daughter, and when she finds that out, like it's like, oh, it all makes sense now. Yeah.
Nora sees the paperwork about banter, and she looks at Keely and she says, "All right, what's the hook?" And then that piques Rebecca's interest, you know, so they start talking about it. In Ted's office, the guys are also talking about the app. Nate says, so I downloaded Banter last night. And Ted says, attaboy. And Higgins says, looking for a lady, eh? And he says, oh, God, no, I deleted it immediately. Besides, I'm very picky when it comes to women. And then when he delivers this line, it's another bit of how truly sad this character is. Like, not sad as in pathetic, but sad as in he's sad as a person. He says, but women are pretty picky too. And you notice that when things happen with Nate, Beard is the one that sees it. Beard's the one that's picked up on the comments and the anger and the sarcasm and him being a smartass or a prick that he's becoming. And then he sees it like and listen, I want to give it away. This all comes back in season 3 with an amazing moment between those two. But Beard is the one that connects through everything with Nate.
Well, Beard was the one that pushed for Nate to get the trainer job, wasn't he? He's the one that pushed for him to get that. He saw the potential in him. And also, I don't believe for a second, that Nate downloaded that and then deleted it. He hung about on there for a couple of hours dangled his rod in the waters, got nothing back, and was like, that's the truth, I think, because he's a sad sack of a human being.
If it's an app where it's kind of like personality overlooks, isn't it? The thing with Nate is he's very one-dimensional.
He's the human version of self-deprecation. Yeah.
He's literally like a fucking like the blandest of the bland. Like there's nothing to him.
No,
he's just he's all he's got at that moment is his job.
What is he going to write? I live at home with my parents. I've got a job. Like he never expounds on any of his extracurricular activities or anything like that. He is just Nate.
Yeah, it's only at Richmond that he's a somebody.
Yeah,
that's fair. It's funny because Ted asked Coach Beard if he had downloaded the app. Beard goes, no, like 10 times or something. He says, Jay and I took a big step forward in our relationship this weekend. We're now sharing an iCloud account. Ted says, ooh. And Beard's like, yeah, they call it digital intimacy. Higgins says, so she found out you downloaded a dating app. And he says, yeah, she would destroy my phone with pliers and a blowtorch. Yes. Great line. Higgins gets a call and it's his wife. He says, Diamond Dog's adjourned. And they all go,
oh. But then as he walks off, he goes, yeah, I was just howling as he walks off.
Oh, that's good. Ted calls Jamie into the office and asks him how he's feeling. Back to what you guys said earlier. Jamie goes, fucking great.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay. He said, I had a dope idea during my eyebrow threading, which no one responded to the eyebrow threading comment. They just let it go.
No, I mean, I'm not.
It's Jamie. He says, I'm going to buy the whole team PS5s. They'll fucking love me. Ted says, yeah, but, some folks might also consider that buying affection, And he says, exactly. Yeah. What better thing to spend money on than love, eh?
Than love? Like, he just doesn't understand, does he? He's just such a simple boy.
Yeah.
He's a simple, but he's a sexy little baby.
He's a sexy little baby.
He's just a normal man. An innocent man.
He's not a normal man. I know that
man.
If I had wronged people, I couldn't just buy them PlayStation 5s to make them forget about how they made me feel for years.
I don't know, man. You want to send me a PS5?
I probably would. But also they could buy their own. That championship, premiership
probably already have them.
Probably already have two. One in the bedroom and one in the main room. Because they're not buying that little weird doohickey. But that's Jamie's brain. Jamie's brain. I'll just shower them with gifts. It's proper sugar daddy nonsense. Wow. And he doesn't understand. And it's adorable, but it's also, Jamie.
Hey, look, don't worry about it because Ted's got a solution. He tells Beard and Nate they have a break glass in case of an emergency situation. Know what we got to do? Nate says, get Dr. Sharon. Ted's like, what? No.
Ted, no. He goes, get Dr. Sharon. And Ted goes, no. Like, he shuts that down immediately. Yeah. Ted still really hates the psychologist.
Yeah, he's not.
Vehemently.
He hates the process. I think he likes her, but he hates the process. He doesn't believe in it.
Ted likes everyone, but he doesn't like what she does for a living. Yeah.
He says, I think it's time for these young fellas to meet that guy. And Brendan Hunt, shout out to Brendan Hunt, is doing his typical pose, and he's like, no. I mean, he's just suddenly comes into the conversation.
Beard's reaction to that is pure, unadulterated fear.
It's the most animated we see Beard, I think, ever. Yeah.
Ted says, oh, yes. It's like, they don't need to meet that guy. They don't. Nobody does.
I honestly thought when he was rotating on his chair, like he was going to come back round with shades on and like, da sort of music.
He says, don't worry, coach. It's going to be great. All right, I'll see you in a little bit. And he runs, and Nate says, who's that guy? He's at Led Tasso. Who's Led Tasso? The last resort. Still doesn't answer my question, though, does it?
And then he just follows him off. Like, classic Nate.
I can't wait to get there. In Rebecca's office, Higgins is explaining that they have contracts that were signed at the time when they were the Premier League, but now the current income's out of the Championship League. Nora answers with, which means you're paying premiership rates for a championship player, so financially the club's a bit fucked. Keeley pops at this, right? And Higgins says she got it quicker than Ted did. Jay, our resident football expert,
Yes.
what is, you may not have a dollar amount, but roundabout, how much of a difference is there?
It's quite a big difference.
Is there?
One of the things, though, which kind of needs to sort of be addressed about this is that they wouldn't be in that bad a position yet. Essentially, when a team gets relegated, they get parachute payments to kind of allow them to sort of like not go into financial ruin, essentially.
Yeah.
So the big thing is they'd lose a lot of TV revenue because they don't tend to show a great deal of championship games on television. They do show them, but not a lot. But they'd be getting parachute payments. If it was like the second or third year they were in the championship, that's when they'd start worrying, because I think it's 3 years they get of like payments to kind of balance the books and set up. Like usually if a team gets relegated, it's very rare they'd not only keep a lot of the like star players, but also bring in new ones. They'd usually bring in they bring in players who can kind of replace the players that they've got rid of, but with them already being there, like having largely the same team and bringing in one or two, they'd be in a good position anyway. So it wouldn't really be too much of an issue for them, but like on that sense. But yeah, it is something that they would be thinking about in the back of the mind, but they certainly wouldn't be thinking about it yet. But with Higgins being like quite pragmatic, he's probably already like, what if we don't go up?
Especially it's his job to look. Yeah.
Especially if they've got like back-to-back draws.
Yeah.
They'd probably be mid-table at that point. So they'd be panicking.
The league below champions level is what?
Is League One. Now they're on considerably less money. Again,
bet so.
They don't really have televised games. There is ways of that they get like money coming in, and there's a lot of stuff where teams from the Premier League are largely encouraged to kind of invest money in grassroots football, so they'll get like a little bit of that sort of like paid down to them from like bigger teams, but not a great deal. But that's why if you look at oh god, what's the name of the show? Welcome to Wrexham. I don't know if either of you watched that. That's fan. Because they're in the National League. That's quite a like sensible way they're approaching it, where they're bringing in players from leagues above because the pay difference isn't that much. But then also they're panicking that they're not getting out of the National League because their operating cost is still that of a team that should be in a much higher league. Which is why there's a lot of urgency for Wrexham to basically now just start climbing the ladder. Now they're out the National League. Spoiler alert.
I'm a big fan of that show. Yeah, I knew they were. I just haven't started watching the new season yet. So
yeah, but now they're actually in like the football league. There is an immense amount of pressure of them to like get up to at least League One for the time being, because the amount of money they put in, they need to start like getting results so they can actually like sustain themselves. Otherwise, they're going to start hemorrhaging money. Well, they're not, because they're owned by a film star and a guy who's like owns his own bloody gym brand and all kinds. He's got an obscene amount of money.
But have you watched Wrestlers on Netflix? It's like you can have money back. You can have money backing you, but if you're not getting bums on seats, you will hemorrhage coin.
I've wrote about it for so many years in podcasting and been a part of shows behind the curtain, in front of the curtain, and I'm just at this point, I don't need the curtain pulled back anymore. That's me. Do you love films that have the same plot over and over and over and over again with only slightly different looking people in the main roles, but just don't have time to watch them all? You do? Then simply listen to Hallmark of Greatness, the only podcast that takes you through such masterpieces as Love at Sea, Love at Christmas, and A Volcano Sacrifice for Love. See a pattern here? Available wherever you get podcasts from, and also find us on social media by looking for Hallmark of Greatness. I'm sure the show's great, but I'm like, Jesus, I just finished season 2 of Heels, and you already know all this stuff anyway, and then it's like, oh, I don't need yet another. Here's how we fall, guys. Look.
Oh,
and I'm like,
stop.
stop.
It's not so much about that. It's more the fact that Al Snow is a menace who thinks that running a weekly show for 8 people is somehow financially viable.
Kill a
Al Snow
town.
is a
You
menace.
run a weekly show, you'll kill a town. In a small town, you'll kill it. That's what we did. Yeah, back in the day. Yeah.
Yep. Well, this is it.
Yeah.
Once a month
I've
is
only
good.
watched the first 2 episodes of it, and I'm like, Al Snow is a menace. Like,
Everybody loves Head, though, Joe.
I think I said to Jay over the weekend, I was like, it shows him going like, yeah, I did all this in WWE, and I was this and that and the other. And then it cuts to him on Sunday Night Heat, and I was like, you're on Sunday Night Heat, mate. No one gives a shit what your opinion is.
No, yeah. We not only entertain and educate here, we also talk about other stuff here, kids. So, yeah, you're getting full Monty here.
It is that thing with football, is that if you spend money, you have to make money.
Yeah, you have to have ROI, for sure.
Well, especially now, this was introduced, I'm trying to now, within the last decade for sure. There's a thing called financial fair play, which is you can't spend more than what you're earning. So it's essentially designed so, like, well, it's one of those things. It got brought in because clubs like Man City got bought out by like extremely rich owners and just essentially bought themselves a team that was going to win them everything. Now, within that period, it's come out that City have allegedly, because it's still under investigation, breached a lot of those rules and potentially tampered with the figures. And if that comes out, then they're in a shit ton of trouble. But it's designed so essentially someone doesn't just buy a club, pump a load of money into them, and then they're now a superpower in football. More so, say if someone bought a club, did that, and then decided, I'm going to sell this club to someone who can't sustain that.
Yeah.
Because the players' wages, so then it just like free falls the club and it tanks the club. Which you do still see happening. But essentially, like that's why it's like that's the other side of the coin. So it's the whole thing on each division is about sustainability. Like if the club is spending beyond their means, they're gonna get sanctioned. They're gonna get to the point where they could be liquidated.
But to get back to it, like all they've bought in is Jan Mass, isn't it?
Yeah, but they've also retained. Well, they brought back Jamie.
But Jamie would sign for any amount at this point.
Oh yeah,
that's true.
But they've also retained like
people on those higher wages. Yeah.
98% of their squad essentially because they only got rid of Roy.
Oh, Roy's salary's gone. Ah, there you go.
So
there you go.
They've only really, which again, it's a rare thing. Like a club gets relegated, they'll usually at least sell like 2 or 3 of the star players. Might keep a great deal of the team, but they'll sell what they can. They'll loan out other players to try and like balance the books as much as possible. Yeah.
But like you said, they've only dropped from the Premiership to the Championship. They've got parachute payments. They've got money coming in.
Yeah.
It isn't so much of an issue in this.
As I say, at this point, it's not an issue. If it was like the 3rd year, they'd be like panicking.
Yeah.
If they were in that situation, it was the 3rd year in the Championship, they'd be like, that's when they'd need to start looking at selling players and what do we need to do to get out of this division.
Well, the next moment's really cool because we get Sam come in and 2 things happens here. One, Rebecca is very happy to see him.
Oh,
because I caught that. And number 2, Nora is instantly starstruck. Instantly.
Oh, it's like me when I met Starboy Charlie.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think with the Rebecca and Sam thing, it comes down to, doesn't it, in that first in the first series, that first time he came in the office and he was like, kind of took it upon himself to say, look, it would really mean a lot to the team if you joined us in like the burning ceremony.
Yeah.
And because it was him, and because he was like just, again, one of the only people who had just been genuinely nice to her at that point when she was in like the whole I want to burn everything to the ground thing.
Destruction Rebecca, I think we agreed on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But because of that, I think she's definitely got like a soft spot for him.
How could you not? He's a lovely man.
He's a paragon of virtue.
He is. If anything happened to him, I would die.
He's like the purest character in the entire show.
He so is. No agendas, no motives, no access to grind. He's pure, he's simple. Yeah, but in the best way. Yeah, so basically in this scene, he's telling them about the Dubai Air situation and why he wants to pull out of the campaign. And at first they're like, what? Not upset, but like, what's going on? When he explains, they instantly understand. When he leaves, Higgins is like, look, we might need to give them a ring because we don't want to ruffle any feathers. And Rebecca says, I'll handle it. The CEO of Cerithia Mall is an old friend of Rupert's. Perhaps he'll still find me charming. When that stuff comes down,
a little wink to Nora there, though, doesn't she?
Yeah,
she's like,
yeah.
She's like, I'm a woman, but I can use that to my advantage.
Nora's involved in the whole situation with this schmuck.
Also, it was as Sam leaves, he goes, goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, Nora. And she goes, he remembered my name. And I was like, it's so adorable.
There's the bit when he comes in and like Rebecca introduces him and he goes, oh, you used to watch Frozen with her. And it takes them all aback, like, oh.
It says really many examples of human struggles, especially puberty.
It's those lines they just leave hanging there. And
it's like, it's so good and just like
all through the show.
Higgins is really like, we can't cancel because like it's the team sponsor, and he apologizes to Keeley. He's like, I'm sorry, I know you put a lot of work into this, but I can't do it. And like Rebecca just goes, I'll sort it. Like that's the kind of back and forth they've got now. Like he explains why he can't do it because they're polluting his fucking home country. And she's like, that's justified enough reason for me, Sam, right? Yep, I'll stop it. I'll sort it out.
As soon as Sam says why, like, it's only Higgins who's really given any resistance to it because he's like...
He's a money man.
He's in business brain. Whereas he's like, nope, that's absolutely fair.
If you got him down the jazz club on a night when he'd had a couple of Campari and sodas in him, like... He'd be like, yeah, I understand why you're doing it as well. But because he is...
He definitely drinks Campari and soda.
He does, yeah. Yeah.
I'm assuming that's a businessman drink.
No, it's a horrible drink. It's
it's like a proper, like, middle-aged woman drink down a social club.
It's what Roy's yoga group should drink, technically.
Yeah.
Yeah. But because he is business brain, he is just like focused on entirely like the profit and loss of the club.
Yeah.
He doesn't hear this. He's just like sweating at spreadsheets because again, I don't know whether or not he's still in that mindset of I'm going to have to deal with this because Rebecca's not going to. But then Rebecca goes like, well, I'll deal with it.
I think it's more he's thinking like of the bigger picture, whereas Rebecca now is like very impulsive and very almost like eager to show that she's on the same page as everyone now. And she just wants the club to be the best it's going to be and just fall under Ted's vision for it. Higgins is like, right, well, that's great and all, but there's also this we need to think about and what that can do to affect it. And like, as a football club, one of the like sort of things that you kind of on your knees to a lot of the time is sponsorship, because that's your main source of revenue behind ticket sales.
I'm looking over my notes and I was starting to crack up during your assessment, Jay, because I'm looking over the Led Tasso notes. This next scene, when he bursts out, I almost expect him to kick the door open with his, that would have been awesome. But he's got the dark glasses on and he is growling and grunting under his breath. He turns over the water table.
He's walking like this. Yeah.
He throws the water table over. He throws a bottle into the stands near Dr. Sharon. He's going nuts. And he walks by Nate and Beard, and Nate goes, oh, that's Led Tasso. I get it. So he understands. Tasso's kicking balls, and Beard tells Nate that he says, the Ted you know is gone for now.
It's the most shite ball kicking I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like me doing it.
The last one isn't. The last one he actually gets a good hit on, but
I know.
He's just
I imagine
pure
that
rage.
was just pure luck as well.
Yeah. Isn't it Isaac that dodges the ball that's coming at his head, I think? He yells at the team. He says, all right, turd birds, practice starts at 11. And if you're not stretched 5 minutes early, then you're 45 minutes late. Do you understand me?
No.
And they're all standing there, and he goes, do you understand me? And they goes, yes, yeah. He said, now start touching your toes. Touch your toes. He says, those are your feet fingers.
Those are your feet fingers.
Let's go, dummies. Touch your toes. Now touch each other's toes. And they're like, what?
What muscle is this stretching?
Yeah. You heard me. Touch each other's toes. I don't want to hear it. Hands on toes. Someone else's toes besides your own. Yeah, he says, don't worry about it. The only muscle I want to see working right now is your mouth, Colin. Oh my God, this is great.
It's just so weird.
It's from out of nowhere, right? They're running drills, and Tasso, I'm trying to call him Lasso. Tasso is yells that the day he said, the day we stop doing things the right way means that we're one day closer to doing everything the wrong way. What happens after that? He says, what do you want to do? We'll make this ball your girlfriend? You want to start taking it to places under your arm, having people compliment it, how y'all look together, and then what? You start caressing it and playing with it like the little air hole nub? Yeah? Messing around with that, are you? Making out with it? Making it your girlfriend?
You gonna marry this
Making
ball?
it your girlfriend?
He's come out with there with nothing, and he's just improv it 100%.
He's improv.
Oh, he's improv it 98%. Like, he's come out, I'll be angry, but he's got note because what is on a football field? A ball and a load of lads. Like, it's just like, want to make out with it? Marry it? Call it your sister?
Yeah.
It's just like, so fucking...
He says, you want to be married to a ball? Isaac goes, no. And then Ted does that thing where he runs up like it's
just like a weird scuttle towards him.
Yes, like he's possessed. And Isaac, listen, Kola Bikini, who plays Isaac, his physical reactions, he's great. When he's very good at that physical comedy. He says, you know what? You're smart out. Just earned the entire team 10 laps. And they balk at this. And he says, all right, make it 1,000. Run. And they all start trying to run these laps.
Run.
Oh my God.
Get your knees up to your nipples.
Yeah. Hope y'all drink a lot of water today, because you're going to be so dehydrated. You're going to be like one of them trees from a Tim Burton movie. I'm talking any Tim Burton movie, even Dumbo, even freaking Dumbo.
Any Tim Burton movie. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. This whole sequence is just delightful.
So good.
Because then when he comes back off and Beard goes in front of him and it's like, how long was I out? And I was like, Ted, it's you. You know it's you. Like, I don't believe he went away, performed some incantation.
He went into a fugue state.
To summon the spirit of Led Tasso into your vessel. Like, it's you. Because it was still you. Because the improvisation was still Ted. Like, it was still Ted stuff. But
the
negative version of Ted. Like the upside down, the bizarro world version of Ted.
So
his Beard has him by the shoulders. He says, it doesn't matter, you're back now. Have
either of you seen Main Justice from Saturday Night Live?
Mm-mm.
I've not watched Saturday Night Live in years, mate.
Oh,
no.
It's a Jason Sudeikis sketch where he's like a Cajun judge. It's like Judge Judy, but he's Cajun.
Okay.
And this was what that reminded me of. Like the mannerisms, the way he moves, the way he's shouting, just the incoherence of it. Like it's literally like that sketch.
That's good. I have to look that up.
I'm getting it queued up when we stop doing this.
Well, what's good is that the object of this whole thing was to rally the team together, including Jamie, because no one was wise to what he was going to do, obviously. So it works. Jamie says, look, he says, all right, coach, we get it. Just stop yelling at everyone. And Ted immediately cancels practice and says,
practice is cats.
Jamie, you just ruined their chances to get better. Cheer that. And one by one, the guys run past Jamie and they thank him for speaking up.
Yep.
Except for Sam.
Sam, again, does the exact same thing he did to Ted before. Just walks past him straight ahead.
Yeah.
Did you get that Ted referenced O'Brien and his butt injury?
Oh, yeah, that made me sure. Is your butt still hurt?
Yeah. Sharon has watched all this. Dr. Sharon, she said, well, that was interesting. He says, yeah, a little something we came up with back in Kansas. See, what we were going to do is, she's like, you pretend to be an asshole so the team makes you their common enemy and not Jamie. And he's like, yeah, spot on.
Full, 2-minute diatribe about Chuck E. Cheese. And I didn't understand what this was about.
She asks him if it's ever worked.
Yeah, and then he says, someone got their head stuck in a VR machine and they got free drinks. But that's not what this is.
But
when she says this has ever worked, they both go, together.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't have them in the UK. Maybe it'd be called Charles. And I think that is the actual name of Chuck E. Cheese, is Charles
E. Cheeseworth.
Minster Cheeseworth, yeah. Which is a fun little joke.
Oh.
But he's a mouse, but he's also a musician.
Yeah.
He loves video games.
It's like one of those weird moments where I was like, have I fallen asleep? Because it feels like this is those bits where my brain is like, I'm still listening to the TV, but I'm incorporating that into my dreams at this point. No, This actually happens. There is a 2-minute diatribe about Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah.
It's great. I don't know why it's there.
I feel like they were just still kind of freestyling at this point.
I feel like they just vamped it and yeah.
It's like the way Will Ferrell will just ad-lib a scene and then it'll end up better than the scene that they were actually filming. It'll just end up in the film.
Yeah.
After having recently rewatched Talladega Nights, that whole bit at the end where it's John C. Reilly going, I always imagine Jesus as a little cloud full of it's just that thing that they just make him take several scenes over and over and over again.
Oh man, the outtakes in the end of that movie are great. In the midst of all this Led Tasso stuff, we did not mention Rebecca has the CEO of Dubai Air on the speakerphone in her office. And she tells Sam he doesn't want to do the campaign because they just pull him. He's no problem, but get rid of him. Jay.
Oh, but
is this?
She does.
Would this ever happen?
Sort of, slimy talking to him as well.
Yeah. Short answer, yes.
Wow.
Players have left clubs because they disagree with the sponsor before. Usually it's so the example that comes to mind is, because I'm a Newcastle fan, it's a Newcastle player. There was a Senegalese player we had. This was going back about 10 years ago, and I can't remember what the sponsor got changed to. It was either a loan company or a betting company. I want to say it was a betting company, given the fact that what happened. And he was basically said he wanted to leave the club because it was against his religious beliefs for to have that on his shirt. And then there was this whole thing where there was a transfer saga, and then it got found out that he'd got caught in a casino gambling. So it was well, that's not against your religious beliefs, so why are you wearing it on your shirt? So and then it got resolved, and there has been a lot of stuff like that. Another one which is a bit more kind of recent is the Rainbow Laces campaign, which is to do with LGBTQ rights, and a lot of players kind of refuse to wear it because of religious reasons, which again it's fair enough, but at the same time, if they're citing religious reasons, it's don't wear a gambling thing on your shirt.
Don't play on a Sunday. Don't,
Yeah.
Don't curse.
It's funny
yeah.
that you can pick and choose which bits of your religion you choose to adhere to when it
Yeah.
comes down to money, isn't it? As opposed to something that's just done to raise awareness about how LGBTQ plus people are treated. But
yeah. The short answer is it wouldn't necessarily be the sponsor that's saying get rid of them, but it would if a player refuses to wear a sponsor on the shirt, technically they are in breach of contract. So they could be fired.
Well, she doesn't know what to do here, right? And Nora, of all people, kind of gives her a pep talk and tells her the story of being caught smoking in the bathroom, but she didn't want her friend to go down alone, so she came out as well.
She was chewing gum in the bathroom.
Oh yeah. So she said.
You got done for chewing in the bathroom? No, I was smoking. It's just like one of those great things. She knows how to disarm a situation.
I love the way she says judgment free, and then Rebecca's like, "Go on."
Yeah.
Like I love the fact that in specifically this scene, but this scene and then moving forward, it's like they're equals. Like,
this is not an equal scene. Like, look at where Nora is sat. Look at what she does with her hands. She is in a position of power here, and Rebecca has come to her for advice. Like,
but
it's just
it's because Rebecca sees her as her equal.
Yes,
and it's I think it's because already in this episode there's been established that Rebecca's kind of taken advice from places she wouldn't normally take it from, with like the Roy thing earlier in the episode where she doesn't really go to Roy for advice. He just kind of imparts it on her and lets her do what she will. And then obviously you had Higgins and Keeley trying to like talk to her about the deal and not to cancel it. And then it was Nora who was like, well, what's the right thing to do, as opposed to what's the best thing to do.
Yeah, so basically she tells the story and she says the point is sometimes you have to do the right thing even if you lose.
Because she stepped out for her friend who was called Pimp as well, which I don't know.
Sarah the Pimp, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just a weird little. I don't know what that's about, but it just made me chuckle. And she got in trouble, but she stood up for a friend who was being berated unnecessarily. And like, I don't know whether that comes from Sassy or whether maybe that's something from Rebecca's past that's coming into it. But yeah, Rebecca kind of sits down and she's sitting there with her fingers crossed, like Nora, like a wise old mountain man, and she's like, impart my wisdom to you, young Padawan. They're not going to get rid of Sam,
and they shouldn't have to.
I think as well, like that's the other thing is that, like, based on what happened with Jamie in the previous season, the last thing Rebecca wants to do is do anything that's going to meddle with the team. Because I
didn't even think of that, but yeah,
because that's what kind of almost destroyed their relationship with everybody in the previous season.
It's true. The next bit is Jamie coming to Keeley's office, and there's a cut out of Roy against the wall, which is great.
Jamie. He looks at it and he just goes. He like it doesn't work in an audio medium, unfortunately. But if on the YouTubes, watch it on the YouTubes. He just does this look of. Like, why?
He sort of like pouts at it, doesn't he?
He's so insecure.
And back to what we were saying earlier about he still doesn't get it. Like, yeah, he's trying to do the right thing and make amends, but he still doesn't get it. He's like,
no, he's still working on his PS5. He's phoning up like Game and going, "Can I have 20 PS5s, please?"
If they want to be on the, if they want to be little bitches about having someone on the pitch can actually score a goal, I'm just supposed to walk around with my head down. They're holding on to some silly grudge. It's not my fault I'm so special. And I'm like, have you not heard or seen anything so far with this team? Like, it's not about you, dude.
It's Jamie reaching a level of frustration where he's tried the two things he knows, and both of them haven't worked. So he's just angry now. He's lashed out, and he's gone to Keeley as like a last resort because Keely has made everything better forever for him. Like,
Yeah.
and Keely has got no time for this. She's furiously scribbling in her book, trying to sort out like the whole Sam Dubai airport thing. And she's like, I haven't got time for this, Jamie. Take a walk with me. She walks him into Dr. Sharon's office and shuts the door. This is Dr. Sharon. She'll fucking sort you out, son. Right. And it's just.
I love Jamie's reaction though when he sits down in the chair.
He sits down and he just goes, so I just talk about myself.
Yeah, he takes a minute though where he's just like pulling faces and like trying to like come to terms with what just happened. It's just the fact as well that like he goes, what? So I'm meant to just talk about myself? She goes, yeah, pretty much. And he goes, oh, all right then.
He'd love
He's okay with that. Talk about keeping Sam. The bit with the letter is great because Rebecca is writing an email to this guy, Cole. Join the Untitled Wrestling Podcast for all the latest pro wrestling news from around the world. Want to dive deeper? Interviews, fantasy booking, roundtable discussions, quizzes, video game streaming, watch-alongs, and a lot more can all be found on YouTube and wherever podcasts are available. You can also find the show on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Untitled Wrestling Podcast, and Twitter, Twitch, and Discord at Untitled Rest Pod. Follow, subscribe, and download today. Nora's like trying to dictate to her, and she goes, "Hey, dickhole."
I've got
Rebecca
this.
says,
if you want it, yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
You do the Rebecca bit. I'll do the Nora bit. Okay.
Nice. All right.
Okay. So, hey, dickhole.
Dear Richard Cole,
you creepy old pedo.
My old friend.
Sam isn't going anywhere, asshole.
I've decided not to release Sam Obasanya.
You are a shitty old man with a tiny shriveled penis. I feel sorry for your wife. Her life must be a constant hell.
Please give Daphne my love.
Sincerely, boss ass bitch.
Sincerely, boss ass bitch.
And they look at each other, and I was expecting a little high five, but it doesn't matter because they just like it cuts away, and it's like, fuck yeah, this is great.
Well, they just burst out laughing, don't they? After she said send.
Like Rebecca's got no qualms at this point. She knows, like, I can do what I want. It's one of those lovely little bits.
It is. I mean, listen, she and Nora absolutely reconnected here in the course of a 35-minute episode, kids. The niche she hasn't seen in 6 years. Everything's good again, but it's okay. It's the magic of television.
It's the power of Roy.
Yes, we'll take it.
Do we ever see Nora again?
I don't think so.
I don't think we do, no.
I don't think we do. Do we see Nora again, Jay?
I can't even remember if we see Sassy again.
Yeah, we do. Because
I think so.
We get a bit between her and Ted at one point.
Oh,
yeah, they have a thing again, don't they? Yeah.
That's correct.
Gillette Soccer Saturday. Is this what it's called? And if so, why?
Yes, because it's sponsored by Gillette. And on a Saturday, essentially, they'll have that set up. And then once the football actually starts, Jeff will be kind of, or whoever's hosting it now because he's retired, will be kind of talking through like what's like literally just listing off the scores.
We're going now live to Bermondsey versus Ostrich.
The word soccer threw me. I didn't expect that.
Yeah, it's just because it
Soccer Saturday, it's alliteration, in it.
Yeah. And then the three guys in the studio will all be watching a different game, and they'll just be going to them at key points in the game. Kind of like Sports Center a bit. Very entertaining. If you've got nothing else to do on a Saturday afternoon.
And we've seen these guys before, but the word soccer, I was like, this must be an American.
No. It's because it's a Saturday.
It's because as well it's on Sky Sports. So it's Sky Sports
Soccer Saturday.
Sky Sports Soccer Saturday, but because they hadn't got the naming rights to Sky Sports for the show, they just called it Gillette Soccer Saturday, which is what they technically call it anyway, but it's just without the actual branding on it because they didn't get that till season 3.
Yeah, Jeff Stelling is back, as you mentioned, joined by Chris Camara, George Kartrick, and Roy. He welcomes Roy, who just glares at him. Jeff says, well said. They run back a highlight of the scuffle on the pitch with Roy and Jamie. Jeff asks him how he feels about Jamie being back with AFC Richmond. He says, Jamie Tart is a moppet, and I hope he dies of the incurable condition of being a little bitch.
I love the way that George goes, "Tell us what you really feel Roy," and Roy straight away just turns around and goes, "All right, you're a shit coach."
Yeah, but
not about me. You
that,
twat.
like, he'd said, the manager of every football team.
Yeah,
like he's just like a bad man. He's a no, they don't even call him caretaker managers. What's the term for him?
No, caretaker manager's the term.
Yeah, it's someone you get in when you fire a good manager. You get him in to round out the season, and then you get another manager in between. That's what Jeff Cartridge is. Is he called Jeff Cartridge? I feel like Cartridge. I ask this a lot.
George Cartridge.
George Cartridge. His surname is Cartridge, right?
Or Cartrick, I think.
Cartrick is how it's spelled.
I'm going to call him Cartridge.
Yeah. Yeah, he's kind of like the managers that, well, there's three managers he reminds me of.
He exists off golden handshakes.
Yeah, and the three that he reminds me of are Neil Warnock, Sam Allardyce, and Peter Reid, because they're kind of like managers you get in to kind of fix a situation.
What's good is that Chris says, well, he asked for it. Roy goes, he did ask for it.
He did ask for it.
Yeah.
Like, and this is like that weird bit where, like, Roy's still showing up even though he hates it.
Yeah. It's just, it's something to keep him busy. I mean, We've finally reached game day, AFC Richmond versus Coventry City. Rebecca gets an email from Cole, who responded with only fine.
Fine.
And I love how she keeps... Yes. She keeps Nora in the loop through the whole show.
Shows Nora it like that as a little thing, and then just goes bip. And like Nora's like, yeah, got you. We're all on board. Like, it's right. It's the right thing.
It is. Keely sees Rebecca on the Banter app, even though Rebecca had called it horrifying previously in the show. She says, look, I'm going to insult something, then I'll try it out because I'm a good friend. And then we see Sassy, easy for me to say, shows up and teases Nora about meeting Sam. Speaking of Sam, great moment for this character. He's in the locker room. He looks at a pic in his locker and sees himself in the mirror. And it just takes a moment to... It's that old bit about you have to look yourself in the mirror. You have to live with yourself and your choices, right?
Again, it is kind of really hackneyed and stuff, but the way that it is done, of him panning around a picture of his mum and dad there, and then it pans to him looking at himself in the mirror, and he just he picks up this roll of incredibly the right-sized electrical tape to block out his thing, and he blocks it out. He tapes it over his chest, and Isaac goes, "What are you doing, bro? You can't. They're not paying you enough." And all the rest of the locker room laugh, and he goes, "No, not the parent company of Dubai Air. What's it called?
Centrium oil is it?
Centrium. It's a made-up thing, but apparently, from what I've just read now while I was looking at this, Centrium is a kind of shell. So it is basically a thinly veiled dig at shell oil.
Right.
Cerithium oil.
So right on, brothers. He says they have turned my home into a hellscape. I cannot wear this on my chest. And Isaac goes, pass me the tape. And you go, oh, fucking hell, here we go. The tears are coming, right? And is it Bombercatch?
I don't think so. It's a player out of
No, it's another random guy, sorry, isn't it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they cover it up, and Sam turns to the locker room and says, I don't expect you to do this because we are Nigerian, and it's like one of the weirdest bits where Jamie stands up and he goes, "Chuck me the tape," and Sam goes, "What are you doing?" And Jamie just goes, "We're a team. We've all got to wear the same, haven't we?"
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm welling up now, even with my own recall of the story, which is not even all the bits that were there.
I think as well, Jamie kind of being the first person to show solidarity. And initially Sam's like, what are you doing? And Jamie's like, well, we're a team. Like, he does it in a way where he still trying to be a bit of a dick about it. He's like, "Or a team got to wear the same kit."
I genuinely, I think he uses that as an excuse for him to absolve himself.
I think he's doing it to kind of disarm Sam as well, because I think Sam wouldn't think it was as genuine.
It's true,
but it definitely shows that he's changed.
It's Jamie literally going, "I agree with what you're doing, but I also have to maintain my facade of being a knobhead. So I'm going to give the excuse of we've all got to wear the same, haven't we?"
We don't know the whole team did it till they step out on the pitch and take off their warm-ups, and then we see. Did you guys suspect that the whole team had done it when they went out? Yeah.
I mean, I think if Jamie hadn't have done it, the rest of the team would have done it out of solidarity anyway. It's just lucky that Jamie stepped in there first.
I think the fact that Jamie was like the first to do it outside of the initial three, it was more kind of symbolic than it was anything else. But it's shown solidarity for sure.
Finally, he does something that's unselfish, which doesn't happen too often. This guy. In the midst of all this, before they take off their warm-ups, Nate tells Beard if no one's passing to Jamie, they can drop him to midfield. Beard says, so the people not passing to Jamie can be closer to him?
Yes.
That's Nate doing that Nate thing, It's funny when they take off the warm-ups and the crowd instantly responds, and, Cole immediately starts calling Rebecca, and she doesn't answer.
The bench start cheering the team.
Yeah, they're clapping.
There is. Behind them, if you look closely, it's a lot of the black players who are first starting clapping, and then it spreads out. And I was like, don't know how many Nigerian people are in football, but fuck it, I don't care. Like, this is just making me feel feelings.
Nora calls her a boss-ass bitch, so that we keep that line going. The press conference after the game, Ted and Sam come in. Ted brings Sam with him, and he's asked if he knew this was going to happen. He says, no, but I think it was courageous of Sam to do it. When bad things happen to people like him, they write about it without having to be asked. And he says, when bad things happen to people like me, and he does this to reference, yes, I'm the white dude in the room. People can't wait to write about it, but, Sam had to go and get their attention, and now they care. He's right. So he brings Sam up to answer questions, and Trent Krim, from The Independent, of course, asked him if the protests distracted the team and led to their loss, and he said, I'm not here to talk about football. I'm here to talk about the destruction caused by Sirithia Mul and how the Nigerian government has turned a blind eye toward it, which is great. And Trent says, are you openly accusing the Nigerian government of corruption? He says, yes. Yes. If you look at Trent, Trent's got a smile on his face.
Trent,
like he's
does
proud
a smile,
of him.
And he sits down. He's like, I've done my bit.
Great. Yes. After that, Ted asks him how he's feeling. He says, good. I just hope the rest of the team's not upset with me. He says, doing the right thing is never the wrong thing.
That's it.
The locker room is probably the best we've ever seen it in the entire show to this point, because everybody's happy, which we've seen before, but everybody's happy, and Jamie's happy too.
Everyone is involved. Yeah, Jamie's in there drinking, and carrying on.
Well, he leads that toast with me.
He does. Oh my God, it's so good.
That's when Sam finally acknowledges him. Like he's like taken aback. He's like, okay.
They go in and he's like, why are you celebrating? We didn't win. We lost. And
Zorro says, yes, but we broke the tie streak.
Again, be a goldfish.
Well done.
That's all it is.
Jamie leads the toast, and he says, to Sam, who did something incredible today, stole my thunder, which is great.
And they all fucking laugh. Like, Jamie's now a boy. He's in there.
Yeah.
And on board. Like, maybe it was Led Tasso. Maybe it was all of the other things combined. But Jamie is now one of the team.
When they shake hands, Jamie tells him it took a lot of courage to do what you did. And Sam tells him, it's good to have you back. And my comment was, wow, in all caps. Like, Sam tells him it's good to have you back. That's a huge moment.
It is. It really is, because Sam had to put up with Jamie's, like, I don't know. I've never gone and befriended my bullies after being an adult. But I imagine it might be a tremendous cathartic experience for me. I get what he's trying to do.
It's the beginning of them kind of like fixing not only their relationship, but the relationship of everyone in the team, and that kind of like get everyone getting on the same page, like they did after the burning. It's like the final piece of it. Like it's the turning point for the team for that season. As the final piece of the puzzle they needed to kind of get everything where it needed to be.
And I love the way the show goes off with them taking pictures of the team with Nora. And Nora's all like, Nora's mom, you can hear Nora saying, please don't do this to me. She's so starstruck.
Did you not think that when they went, oh, Sam, would you take a picture with Nora? She was just like, I'll get a picture with Sam. And then the rest of the team piled in and she was like, this isn't what I wanted.
Well, but also because she's like a fan of the team. And again, it shows the unity of the team.
Yeah.
And then also Keely's like, hide your beers, Emil. Because Keely has such a sway in that locker room as well.
She does.
It's I think again, like there's a lot of symbolism with these scenes, like the one where obviously Jamie's the first to put the tape on, and then Jamie doing the toast, and then Sam and Jamie being on Nora's left and right in the like front and center.
Oh shit!
It's all about the symbolism of like showing the team's whole.
I didn't even pick up on that. I feel ashamed.
That's good stuff. Yeah,
that is good, man. Yeah.
Well, kids, guess what? We've reached the end. It only took us 6 hours to get here, but we're here. I'm just kidding. It's hard. Listen, we said in season 1, it's going to be hard to do this and not get long-winded, distractions aside, because I just don't know. Listen, if you're a Ted Lasso podcast guy and you're nailing them in 30 minutes, go with God, brother. I hope it's working out great for you. I can't do this in just 30 minutes. I can't do it in an hour anymore. Like, it's too hard. There's so much here.
Talk about Ted Lasso for hours because there is so much in there.
When we saw each other at the weekend, we didn't even speak about it. Like we had like a unspoken sort of agreement not to even talk about it, to save it for this.
Nice.
No, I want to hear your theories fresh on the day. Like it is. Genuinely, gentlemen, I love this. This is like the genuine highlight of my week because I get to talk about something that I genuinely love with people who love it as much as I do. Maybe not so much with you, Jay, because you're a dark card. You're a Tate Mayfair's fan, and that's not good in my book.
This is greatness.
This is not greatness. He took things away. I think when we started this, I was like, okay, they can't be any longer than the show. And then after the first one, I was like, they're going to be as long as they take to actually go through every single beat in this thing. And because everything is in there for a reason.
Yeah. I had a dentist appointment yesterday, and the nurse, I mentioned having to do a podcast. She said, what shows do you do? And I mentioned this one. She goes, oh my God, I love Ted Lasso. And I'm like, same. I said, I could talk about it all day. And I said, we do. It's so fun, man.
The show isn't even consequential. It's more just the ins and outs of human interactions.
I think as well, though, because we've already watched through it before we're covering it, we're able to see things in a different, like through a different lens than we would if this was the first time we watched it.
Fair.
I feel like we should get someone who hasn't seen it at some point.
Yes, I know Faye is watching along as we're releasing.
Faye's finished it all.
Oh, she was, and then she finished it. Shit.
Yeah, she was like, she was like, I cannot keep this going. I need to know what's happening. And then do it all in like 4 days. Yeah, I know. But if you make her the best, she is literally 2 inches tall. So
she is.
I love her. She's a lovely lass.
Well, there you have it, kids. There's episode 3 of season 2, and I got it right this time. I'm proud of myself. In the can, rolling out. If anyone's got a last comment, please feel free to throw it out. Jay, you got any last comment as we're heading out of this episode?
I think we've covered it all, haven't we? Oh, no, so. Led Tasso's a monster.
But a necessary monster at times.
A necessary evil, but an evil monster.
Did he do really anything, though? Or did the psychologist do all the work?
I think she did, but also I think that...
My walkway from this is Richmond on the up and up.
Yeah, the streak is over.
Streak is over. Thanks again, kids, for watching. Hope you're following along and enjoying the show. Please remember to follow us on all your favorite podcast platforms if you're so inclined. And, of course, follow us on social media at Two Nations Pod, baby. It's really easy. Everywhere we are, that's where you'll find us. Thanks again for watching. Spread the news of the show, if you will, and stay on the lookout for, I almost did it again, episode 4 of season 2. I'll get it right one of these days, of the show we call Ted Lasso. Thanks again for watching, kids. For Joe and Jay, I'm Tom. See you next time.